This week on Parallax Precision, we take some more shots, we look at groups, we discuss the ammo, the fouling of barrels, ammo changes, as well as some common myths around how to manage your ammo on the firing line and the day of shooting. So without further ado, let's get into it. Hey everyone, welcome back. So the video last week around the fouling of the barrel, I got some very interesting comments. So I thought in part 2 of the series, we'll actually take a look and explore a bit further. Just to recap, if you haven't seen that video yet, I'll put a link in the description below or above, and then you can go have a look at that first. So long story short, we took a clean barrel and we shot 100 rounds through it while monitoring the velocity and the ES and the STs to see from a clean barrel how many shots you have to actually shoot to get the ES and STs to stabilize again. But then some of the viewers commented and said, that's great, but what if I change ammos? And that was the very next test. But I thought we would take it one step further. So since I shot that video, I put another 100 rounds odd for match through this barrel. And then the barrel was sitting for about a week until we shot this video. So by all accounts, this barrel right now has got about 300 or 400 rounds through it since we did that. So the first thing we did this morning was went out to the range and we shot the same lot of eley match that the barrel's been seasoned for. And we looked at the velocities and ammos, and we can have a look at that right now. So to explain the setup here, we're shooting from a fixed bench at a 56-yard target. It's not quite 50 yards where the berm is. And what I'm shooting today is obviously my CZ with the larger barrel. The headspace is set to 42 thousandths, so it's a bit tight on some of the SK rounds, but perfect for the eley. Yes, you can go tighter, but then you struggle to shoot SK, so this was just the right setting right now. And then you'll notice that the point of aim versus where I'm impacting is actually off. That's deliberate. I'm already dialed 400 just to see my point of aim. It's very hard to see on the scope cam, that little dot. We've discussed this before. Basically, at anything below 65 yards, it's very hard to get these cameras to focus on something very small, like detailed, like the point of aim here. So that's just a setup. That's what we went with today. And then you'll see further on the footage when we shoot at 100 yards, it becomes much more clear. But just wanted to give you guys the context over there. So what does the result say? Well, luckily for all of us, like we all expected and all was pretty much been done, it seems like if you shoot the same ammo out of the same gun, it pretty much only takes one shot to get your rifle back on track. If you look at the data over here, you can see the first gold ball shift, if you wanted to call it that, but it's a significantly higher velocity as the rest of the shots. So this was a string of 31 shots. I'm not going to show all of them. I showed the video in terms of me shooting, and you could see the scope cam just to see that it was stable. But I mean, this isn't about groups. This is just about the pure data being captured from a cold ball all the way through. So let's carry on with this video. And then second to that, what we then did was, what's the next logical step is let's change ammo in terms of brand, which means lubrication, and see how many shots is actually required to change or to stabilize on the new ammo lot. So what we did was we alternated between the eley match and the long range match. Two different velocities, two different loop types, so therefore the maximum amount of change between the two. And we did this 2 or 3 times because unfortunately, if you can't repeat the test and show that the results stay the same, then it's not science, it's just a fluke. So the first thing we did for this test was set up a control group. So we're shooting at 100 yards here, and we alternating between 15 and 30 shot groups because statistically that's when you start seeing patterns. Now, I've heard some common myths around the amount of shots you need and what these rifles are capable of, and if I didn't do the testing myself, some of the videos on this channel, I wouldn't believe some of the stuff. But I just want to put it out there that shooting below 1 MOA at 100 yards is well within the capabilities of these rifles, even for a 30-shot group. Yeah, you can see it's 15 shots, and I think I averaged around just under an inch, but we'll see towards the end what the results are. So here we go. So we shot 15 shots here. You can see it's stringing a bit up and down, and there is a bit of a left shift in the group, but I'm not changing anything right now because I'm not really after the groups here. It was just interesting for me to see how these bullets in this gun that I know it likes groups versus the SK long range match, which we'll be shooting next. And so while we carry on shooting these groups, I wanted to speak to you guys about some stuff that I'm hearing on the firing line, which is interesting to me. And I've tested some of those videos on the channel as well. But I've heard, especially coming out of the winter, most people will keep their magazines or their ammo in their pockets and keep it warm somehow for better performance on the line. And the simple reality is that's just not the truth. If you take the ammunition and you load a magazine and you put it in your pocket, get it to body temperature, it takes about 3 minutes in cold air for that ammo to acclimatize back, well, at least 80%. So a stage, if you're shooting, is about 2 minutes, 3 minutes. So if you put a freshly loaded ammo out of your pocket into the gun, start a stage, by the time you've shot bullet 1 to bullet 12, you've had a 20 plus degree gradient across your ammunition, which translates into vertical spread in your rifle, not to mention the nodes or anything like that your rifle might like or not like. The best thing you can do is actually to keep your ammo at the climatized temperature of the environment. For me specifically, that means I get to the range, I take my ammo out of the box, out of the cardboard, and I set it on the table before I even start setting anything else up, before I put up targets, anything like that. It's all just a case of managing temperatures to the most stable point you can. And when you're in the field, the environmental temperature is the most stable point that you can achieve. So load your mags, keep your ammo, keep them out of the sun, but try and keep them at ambient temperature, because that's ultimately what your Kestrel, what your ballistic solvers, and what your testing should be based around. And so the results, what you've been waiting for. Well, funny enough, there's a couple of interesting things happening here. If you look at the total graph, you can see that all the groups combined, and all the top lines is obviously the eley match, which is running at a higher velocity than the SK long range match. It was about 5 degrees or 41 Fahrenheit this morning, so the SK is a bit more susceptible to cold weather than the eley is, and it shows in the velocity. But it also makes a clear distinguishment between where the two ammos are and the transition from one ammo to the next. So if we first look at transitioning from eley to SK long range match, you can see that that happens pretty quickly, and then stabilizes as much as it will in terms of the STs and ESs. If we flip the chart and we go from SK long range match back to eley, similar story. So how many shots do you actually need before the data starts becoming stable again? By my guess, by looking at this, 1 shot, 2 shots, it doesn't seem to be nearly as susceptible to fouling as a clean barrel is to whatever ammo you can shoot out of it, which I didn't expect. I thought there was going to be at least 5 or 10 shots. So as long as you send 1 or 2 down the barrel before you shoot a new ammo, it seems like you're good to go. And while we didn't go for groups, I thought it was interesting. Through all the testing that we've done, basically what you're looking at is you can identify the 3 groups that was eley match, which I know this chamber and this gun shoots well at. And then the others was all different lots of SK long range. This was at 100 yards. So that is it. I'm hoping you guys actually found this useful, found it interesting, because for me, for one, yes, some of the stuff you can assume just by hearing on the firing line from other individuals. But until you've done the empirical testing yourself and actually put numbers to it, how do you actually know? So that's why we did this. Anyway, there is a part 3 to this video. I didn't think there was going to be, but the results is pushing us in that direction. The rabbit hole goes deeper than just what we've covered so far. So join me next time. Cheers.